What's up, everyone? Just wanted to give you a heads up. This is the inside half of the front calipers on a Tesla. They are the same from the X to the S. Brembo, part number 208659.0320A. Now, the reason for this video is there's been a lot of misconceptions going around that these brakes will last forever, you never have to do anything to them. That is inherently incorrect, especially if you live somewhere like we do in the northwestern northeastern United States, or anywhere that gets snow. And I'm going to show you why. The most important reason for having your brakes checked and serviced regularly is because the caliper is aluminum. It has a painted coating on it, but it's very, very thin. The backing plate for the calipers, or for the pads, is made of steel. So you see right here and right here, not so pretty. When you put the pads in, they slide in. Just imagine the outside half, that part right there, that fits like this, and then the pads sit down inside like that. So the pads sit right there, the pins go through, and they move in and out as the brakes are applied. Now, when this happens, it happens even if you don't use the brakes a lot. It still happens every time you touch the brake pedal. Whether it's moving, stopped, it doesn't matter. It moves in and out like this every time you hit the pedal. And what happens is it starts to wear away at that protective coating that's on the caliper. So I don't know how well it's coming through on the GoPro, but that right there is exposed aluminum. It's not so bad on this side, which is a little strange. Oh, this might... No, actually I think this is... Yeah, this is the caliper for that side. Don't mind me. No, it is a caliper for this side. Whatever. But what happens is after a while it wears through, and when it starts to corrode, rain, road salt, magnesium chloride, everything like that, that accelerates it, and you get a galvanic reaction between the aluminum and the steel, and they actually weld themselves together, which leads to a partial or a full brake failure. You go to hit the brakes, because the pad is now welded to the caliper, it doesn't move like it's supposed to, and it can't clamp the rotor. So in order to prevent that or reduce the risk of that happening, you should get your brakes serviced regularly. I say at least once a year, preferably right before winter, if you're in a state like we are here in New York. And it's very simple. I don't expect you to have the calipers taken apart like this, but it's very, very simple. I've covered it in another video, but all you do is you put a little bit of grease there, a little bit of grease there, and it allows the pad to move freely. And it's a big safety issue if you completely ignore it. A lot of people think because of the regenerative braking and everything on these vehicles, you don't need to use the service brakes all that often, which is true. You should be able to get well over 100,000 miles with the factory set of brake pads. Warped rotors and all that stuff is a whole different thing, but you do have to service the brakes. You have to. It's something that should be included in the annual service, but it's an upcharge, and Tesla employees generally don't like to upcharge, which is understandable. They don't want to be viewed as the typical dealership, which I get, but at the same time, you can't hold your reputation above the safety of your clients. It winds up becoming more expensive in the long run, especially since these are generally covered under the bumper-to-bumper warranty. Your brake system fails within the first 50,000 miles, they have to fix it. It's not like replacing a pad or rotor, but if the pad welds itself and the brakes fail, it's Tesla's responsibility. And usually what winds up happening is they replace the pads, they replace the rotors, and they replace the calipers. And it becomes much more expensive. It becomes a hassle for the client. It becomes an expense for Tesla when what is it, $50, $75, $100, whatever it costs to do a brake service on this. It would be cheaper and easier for everyone involved if they would just upsell it from the beginning. They don't. Well, most places don't. Some service centers do, but most places don't. And even in the 2-year service, they don't really do it either. When you do if you get the second annual service and you get the brake fluid flush, this is something that has to be done. They don't seem to do it a lot. It's not really a big deal in places that don't have corrosive road conditions, especially during the winter, but it should still be done. The road salt and everything like that accelerates this, but it will happen everywhere. And it's very simple. Like I said, I have another video covering it. It took me half an hour to do all 4 corners. Pop the pads out, clean them up, grease them up, put everything back together, put the pins through. You're on your way. Have a nice day. So this is much more in depth. These are going out to paint. But I figured before I tore them down completely, I just wanted to show that. So that's where we're at now. If you live in a place that they salt the roads, I recommend doing this October, November every year. Take it in, you can do it yourself, you can take it wherever. Pop the pads out, grease them up, clean them up, put them back in. Have a nice day. If you're in a place down in Florida or the southern United States where it rains a lot, you can get away with it a little longer, but I'd say every 2 years. It doesn't hurt anything to take them apart and check them and put them back together. So yeah, just a public service announcement. Do not ignore your brakes. It can become a safety hazard for you and other people on the road. Do not ignore your brakes. This is arguably, next to your steering, this is probably the most critical component of the entire vehicle. This is what's going to stop you. Obviously, it's the brakes, but don't neglect your brakes. Just because you don't use them, don't neglect them. Pay attention. Have them regularly serviced, even if you just check them out and don't do anything to make sure you're not wearing through. Like this one's starting to wear through and it's only got 15,000 miles on it. So if it continues, I'd say probably next year, maybe even by the end of this year, it could weld itself together and the brake system could fail completely. So don't neglect your brakes, keep up on them, and stay safe out there. Have a good day, guys.